Hi, what's up, Chalkers? Welcome to the Let's Chalk About It podcast. If you're new to fitness or just want to hang with some like-minded fitness folk, then this is the place for you. Remember, it's always good to chalk about it.
So, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It. I'm actually going to stop saying which episode it is because in the last one I got it terribly wrong.
And I corrected you.
You did.
You still said I was wrong.
And I was here.
Yes, you're always here.
It's not an episode if Scott doesn't turn up.
So,
Still alright?
we've got some slightly exciting news though.
Yep.
Like always.
Because that means that next week
Oh.
we get to do our very first...
Guest.
No.
Oh.
He just ruins the mojo, doesn't he? He's just straight in and a guest.
Your mojo's all over the place earlier. Now you've calmed down a bit.
Wow.
Do you think you call them a guest because you used to have to guess who they were?
Oh.
What was that face?
I don't know, but everyone kind of stopped then, just like, well, maybe that was
Was that disappointment?
So
in
if
your
you win,
face?
guess who? It's like, guessed who?
guest.
You did. You guessed who?
Oh my
Oh,
god.
God. Yeah, sorry.
I'm not well today.
Great one.
You're very.
Right, so we're going to now
news.
bring down the really, like, what was exciting news. Having a guest on it would have been very exciting, but it's not that exciting.
Okay.
So next week, if anyone follows on it, follows the Instagram page, we Chris is admiring himself in the camera. You realise that'll all be shown.
I don't care. I wasn't admiring shit. I'm a pudding right now.
So we're going to start doing a taster at the beginning of our podcast on some cool energy drinks. So if anyone follows the Instagram page,
Technically, we will have a guest then. It'll be like a liquid guest.
we put out some feelers to find out who would be interested in it.
Yeah,
and
you did.
Someone
You did
actually, I jokingly did it, not thinking anyone was going to take it seriously.
Yeah.
And someone was like, "Yeah, well, we're in." So next week we've got Excite Energy Drink. Are going to send us some samples,
Excite.
and we can.
It's quite exciting. What flavours? What flavours?
I don't know. I don't know until they send them.
What time are you
So
picking your kids up at, Chris?
We'll go from there.
Dad joke.
Dad joke. Dad joke. Dad joke. Should we have that as like a little warning symbol? Dad joke warning coming soon.
Yeah.
Right. So let's actually get back to the podcast, and we did get some questions come through, so we'll answer
But
them.
what you said
to
had
start
everything to do with the podcast, though. So
Yeah, it was the beginning.
with. Yeah, but
You said
How-
to start with. So
how
that
are we
was
getting
part
back
of it.
to the podcast?
because this is
Yeah.
actually meant to be about fitness, not energy drinks.
Hey guys, I know we're talking, but let's get back to talking, right? Intermission over.
Okay. So on that
I like that
happy
one.
note, can anyone cut his microphone? Take him off. Don't need him now.
I'm loud enough.
Right.
I'll cut across.
So let's get the first questions. that we
He'll
got
take
through.
yours. He'll be like, oh.
Messages.
I think you've had this like
Well,
planned and ready to go.
Yeah, you think you'd be prepared. It's almost as if you
Time
didn't
is
think we'd actually be
valuable.
doing a podcast
So-
today.
The first question we got through doesn't
Shoot
say
me.
who it's from,
Do it.
but is what are our thoughts on low carb dieting?
Who's it from?
It doesn't say who it's from. It says anonymous. So
How do they even type on low carb diet?
Like, what's my thoughts on it?
How do they even think of the question on low carb?
yeah, what's our thoughts on low carb diets?
Yeah, fine. Next question.
Please come back next week for more information on fitness.
What do you think about them, Kieran?
Don't agree with them
Right, why?
personally, because I think carbs are energy. You need energy. If you're going to work out. If you're not working out so much, maybe lower the carbs a little bit. But if you're working out, then I think you definitely need carbs.
they drive your metabolism. They basically form what your brain uses for energy. They drive your performance as well. So they are really important. I think low carb diets or using low carb points in your diet, they do have a place in weight loss.
Yeah, I think management is probably a better thing. Like manipulation, should I say, is probably a better way of doing it.
I think they've definitely got a place in weight loss, but you have to reverse diet. You have to make sure you're putting those calories back in and you're doing it carefully. I think the main thing is don't just go on, I'm doing low carb, then haphazardly drop your carbs or drop out entire food groups just to fit your...
Unless you have an illness. Like, if you're diabetic, like, maybe think about the carbs.
maybe think about them.
Yeah, maybe have a thought.
Yeah.
And then eat them anyway.
Or if you suffer with like some
Because you don't go into a coma.
severe inflammation, carbs can really affect that.
Yeah,
so.
lots of carbs. Yeah, some be a bit inflamed. But I think they've got a place. But carb up and use carb cycling maybe if you're going to try and manipulate your carb intake. But they've probably got a place. Just know that there's going to be things like you're not going to feel as great. It's going to affect your performance negatively. The better way to do it would be the long run of maybe a smaller caloric deficit. Go for longer, have like long-term goals rather than just think, okay, I want to get in shape in 8 weeks, which is 10 when people go for those kind of fatty diets.
I mean, there's a lot of like social media around like 6 week, 8 week, 10 week transformations of people that
if you actually sustainable.
And if you look at a lot of them as well, a lot of them were probably in pretty decent shape to start with. You can usually tell from the body sort of composition of them when you look at the picture and you go, yeah, but that guy is probably used to doing this. He's probably used to bulking and then dropping quite a lot of weight quite quickly.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that's natural for everybody.
Every diet works short term.
It does. Yeah. Dieting will work. It's just how long is. I mean, how long it's going to work for, and then how bad's the rebound going to be if it's not sustainable and you don't adhere to it. Good quote. I seen something the other day, and it was compliance is the science. So if it's going to work for you in the long run, if it's going to be good, if it will work, then you'll be able to comply and adhere to it for a long time.
I've had this argument so many times with I'm not going to name names because we don't do that on this podcast.
Was it yourself?
People, it was all the time, just in the mirror,
in the bath.
In the morning, just in the reflection.
Looking at the bubbled reflection.
Yeah, exactly.
A little bubble beard.
Where
usually wins and you slam the water.
Like Gollum when he has the two sides to him.
That's the other side of it. Me, I'm Gollum, and then look at him and it's like, oh, he looks pretty cool. I like that guy.
That's what.
But I've had the argument where people have gone, low carb diets work for me. They work for me, and I'm like, well, they don't.
Yeah, because until you want cake,
you lost all that weight, and now you've piled it all back on again. So therefore, they don't work for you because in the long run, you can't maintain that diet.
Because when they said that to you,
doesn't work.
They've separated that and they've said it worked for me, and it's like, well, if it's your diet, that's just something you would do all the time.
Exactly. They used a word there, which was it worked for me, but it's not working going forward.
Yeah.
So they need to adapt, and even if it was a case of, you know what, I'm not going to get back down to 13 stone, but I am going to get to 16 stone, and I'm going to be able to maintain that a lot easier because I'm still going to keep things in there that I want to eat. I'm just going to have to come to terms with the fact I'm not going to get down to as skinny as I was, but I'm going to spend the rest of my life that kind of weight.
Yeah.
And that makes, to me, much more sense than I can drop down to 12 stone, then I'm back up to 22 stone, then I'm back down to...
Are you talking to me?
Stone. No, I'm not talking to you.
Is this point? This is an attack right now. This is not a podcast.
This is a Scott intervention.
Oh, you want to lose some weight and put it back on. It's just like, Jesus Christ,
actually,
man. Read the room.
You, but I am going to say at the moment, I am well impressed with you and your diet and the way that you're on things at the moment, because you just seem like you've got a proper beeline for what it is you want to achieve. And every time we go on your social media, it's cardio done, gym done, swim done.
He's on 2 a days.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's easy, really, ain't it? It's just doing it.
But that's not easy.
I find it harder to make the excuses now. So
I think it's easy to say it's easy, but it's not. We all know it's not.
Looking back and things, I've lost a lot of weight. I've gained a lot of weight, but I've lost a lot of weight. I've never done it low carb.
No.
I've always done it. Intermittent fasting kind of works for me because I like to eat big meals.
Yeah. But what is that
but
really?
It could push you to binging sometimes.
Right? It can. It does. Yeah. It does.
Not
definitely.
That's like a criticism of intermittent fasting. The idea is obviously to have a short period.
You get into that zone, where you just and then you feel guilty because you had such a big meal. You do extra cardio. You go out and run another 10K. And it's like,
which is not the idea, is it?
It's not. So
the last thing on low carb, because I don't just want to belittle it, because it's it is a
has its
method
place.
People to use. It has its place.
Yeah.
Cycle your carbohydrates, but it can just be lower carb. Don't think of it as this is another excuse for me to starve myself. Low carb, that's a great idea. I'll cut out all these carbohydrate foods. Just have lower carbs, or just drop it a little bit. That's how you're going to get your deficit.
Yeah.
Keep fats and your protein similar. Maybe on low carb, maybe slightly higher protein. It depends on your goals. Really.
I always think is just make sure you have adequate protein and you're in the right caloric area for you.
Yeah.
That's a deficit or a surplus, or you're trying to maintain. Just make sure you've got that sorted and you've got adequate protein, and the rest doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I think, for me, I try and manipulate. So if I know I'm having a day where it's going to be heavyweight or a lot of work, then I'll make sure I've got a decent amount of carbs in me. If it's a day where I'm maybe resting or I'm not doing as much, I'll think, well, maybe I can cut them back a little bit. I don't have to have as much. And that's the way I work it. But I'll pretty much have a carb. Excuse me. I'll pretty much have a carb with every meal. There won't be pretty much any meal I'll have where I'll
have
carbs. Just
a single gram
of carbs.
Oh man,
I just licked a sugar bowl
earlier.
I know, and I had like 4 meals, so that's 4 grams of carbs. So that's a high carb diet.
I had so many carbs today.
So many carbs, I'm so fat. But
so what you're talking about is you're regulating how you're putting certain macros in and out of your diet, and that's another massive thing people need to take from. So let's say we are talking about low carb diets again. You got to think about where your metabolism is. Are you really refeed at the right time? Are you training optimally and not training too much? Because if you are trying to cut body weight, you've got to be careful of how much you're training. Your training volume is going to definitely affect how much you're losing weight and how much stress you're under, how much your body's having to recover from. So it's just that perseverance of doing what you're doing, finding out, there's those main rules that work for everyone, lower calories, etc. But the perseverance of figuring out when you want to refeed, when you want to manipulate your diet. So just keep persevering and figure out when you are changing those parameters in your diet, make sure you're matching that with when you're losing weight and when you're gaining weight.
Yeah, exactly. So summary, don't do low carb diets.
So summary, they're all right.
Low carb
like
diet,
my original answer.
They're
moving
fine.
on.
Yeah, moving on. We've just gone with Scott's one to start with. Don't do them. Unless you have a medical condition, don't do it.
Yeah.
Right. So this one comes from Jacob T. What powders, etc., do you recommend for a first timer just starting out?
What?
What powders?
Powders?
Cocaine.
Just
cocaine.
funny question.
Yeah, just straight
You'll have enough energy for
for
a few sessions.
Hours.
We are in no way recommending drugs, kids.
So powders, does this include like whey? Because whey to me is a food.
Yeah, they're talking.
Yeah, okay.
I think
flour if you're going to make pancakes. Maybe some baking soda, bicarbonate of soda,
Granulated sugar
also
for your
helps
brownies.
with indigestion, and some whey protein.
Go on, what supplements then is the point of the question is?
Creatine and a pre-workout, that's it. That's all you need.
Think pre-workout?
If you need it. Because, some people are addicted to that shit and they need it. So if you have high caffeine tolerance, you need a pre-workout, really.
If you're having coffees all day at work and then you need a buzz.
If you're me...
you're going to have to really hit the pre-workout hard.
If, like every person in the fitness industry, you're addicted to coffee,
I know.
then you
Those
need
coffee
something
brands.
a little bit stronger than a coffee.
Yeah.
So that's
If your base level is a coffee
like-
an hour, you're going to need something to get you out of that level.
If you're an alcoholic and you drink beer all day, when you get to the bar, you need a good strong whiskey.
You're drinking beer at home. You're not going to go to the bar and buy the same beer. No, you're getting, tequila. Just getting tequila.
So you just think creatine and pre-workout?
I think creatine and maybe a pre-workout if you need it.
That's interesting. What do you think? Because we had this conversation.
Yeah,
on
I
a
think
testing.
Oh, electrolytes. Oh.
Yeah.
Salt.
Have
No.
Have you had your chance? Well,
I think I think for me,
you can come back in, Scott.
yeah, I think
I'll wait.
it depends on your goals. I think creatine for me would be depending if you're like looking at strength goals and things like that. Then creatine, maybe.
Well, I assume...
But I wouldn't necessarily have anything to start with. I think you can
Interesting.
start out with just seeing how much protein you're getting from your food. It depends on what your goals are. I mean, it's a pretty kind of open-ended question of what kind of things you need. That's really dependent on what your goals are. But to me, impact whey would be a pretty good one, or a good complete protein.
Right.
But only if you need it. If you're not getting enough from your food, then supplement it.
How do you know you need it?
Depending on what your goals are again. I would say depending on what your goals are. If you're looking to build strength, then you're going to want to get more protein than you're probably a standard person. So therefore, I would look at... I feel like I'm being quizzed. Like, how do you know you need it?
You are.
I'd just like to
What
challenge you.
Yeah.
What if?
I think...
Why? Damn it, why?
I think supplements are always a good idea, whether it's beginner or whether it's an advanced lifter, because the advanced lifters that kind of like to get it all from food. Maybe they live in a hot country, so they've got enough vitamin D. Maybe they're just kind of like taking creatine. This is like an advanced lifter I'm talking about. Then they're not going to need all the supplements. But then again, you might get an advanced lifter that likes to supplement their diet. As long as you keep it for what it is, they are supplements. When you feel like you want to just get that little bit of extra protein, or to hit your protein goals, you need one after training, or you need a shake here and there, or however you want to add it into your diet, then great, add it in. Or if you think creatine's worth it for you, you want to buy that supplement, it must be the cheapest supplement out there.
And the most researched.
Whey protein and creatine, great point. They are the most researched products on the market. So I think they're always a good idea. Whether you're a beginner or not, it just comes down to what you want to try. So do your research, speak to the right people, and if they're, if they've got the right head on their shoulders, they'll point in the right direction. But the basic ones would be, because I think pre-workout would be quite an extreme level. If you can just have your...
You don't need that if you're a beginner. Was the question a beginner? I can't remember.
Yeah, if you're just starting out.
Okay, so no pre-workout for beginners,
I would say...
Not unless you give them like a warning thing. Like, if you feel very, very jittery, that's normal. If you feel like
just don't buy it. Leave more for me.
You feel like you need to itch your skin off of your face.
Because the beta-alanine.
That's a good pre-workout, and it's a normal feeling. Don't worry about it. If it starts to burn and you do start scratching off your face, seek medical attention.
I would say the simple one, so whey protein, because that's well researched, it's always a good idea. If your stomach can take it, because not everyone really likes sometimes they'll get a bit gassy.
Get gassy with it,
They can upset some people's stomachs, sometimes they don't.
Protein farts are real, people.
Or just any, there's so many good vegan proteins now. I would lean towards a vegan protein.
Pea protein is excellent. It really is good.
Mixed ones are awesome.
Good mix of amino acid profile, that's what you want. But don't go into too much detail there. Find a good quality whey protein or vegan protein. Creatine's always a good idea for strength athletes. Yeah. But again, it's still good for runners. It's still going to give you
endurance.
It's still going to give you lots of benefits there. I'm not a fan of multivits, but vitamin D would be a good idea in colder, darker countries. And
I always feel like if your diet is turkey dinosaurs and smiley faces, get a multivit.
You're going to have to, yeah.
If you have a very varied diet,
if you have a very beige food.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of what I was getting at. Is if your diet's pretty well rounded, you see how you get on when you're training.
Yeah.
And then see where you may need to supplement.
Yeah.
Because it is exactly what we've mentioned before. It's a supplement. Like, I'm not a massive eater. I eat 3 meals a day. So for me to try and get the amount of protein in that I need...
I think depending on the world population, that's a pretty massive eater.
It's not...
Depending on all the people that eat... Yeah, that's quite a lot of food.
It's not it's not easy to get the amount of protein that I take in a day, so it's much easier for me.
So you like to supplement?
And I can't eat like constantly. I just won't be able to do it. So for me, supplementing makes much more sense. But there are people out there who can eat and have no problems with doing it.
Oh, I can eat.
So, what was it?
Shout out to those on YouTube who can see me.
How many eggs did that guy put up the other day?
Tank went through 48 eggs in one day. Yeah, that's crazy.
That guy.
He's so good.
Wasn't the snap just a picture of his belly? It's like 25 eggs in tank. It's like so good.
It's like it's great. It made sense, and then when I read it, I thought it was like in the tank, and I was like, yeah,
it's just in tank.
I know
in tank. Okay,
it's great.
Happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To summarise, creatine's a good idea.
You can get so deep into it. We can talk about it.
There are like some basic ones that are quite a good idea. Yeah. I'll agree. I'm not.
How much do you care? Download chronometer, track your diet for a week, see what you're deficient in, buy that.
Okay.
Right, if you want to get detailed.
Scott's analysis right there.
Take an extra 10 milligrams of copper, and you'll be right on, man.
Yeah, go lick some pennies.
See, there's stuff I wouldn't have. I didn't even think about taking until I spoke to you about things. So it was like, like the ZMAs for.
That's one of the biggest ones. I'd say that was my top one.
So you are a big fan of ZMA.
We didn't even talk about it.
Cramp with having the extra electrolytes in there.
The electrolytes are huge. Yeah.
It stopped when I'm training, so I still seem to get dehydrated. But it's when I'm training, I don't cramp anywhere near as much as I was. So again, they're things I wouldn't have thought about. But now I'm like, okay, they've helped. But they certainly wouldn't have been on my list of anything. I wouldn't have even thought about it. Like,
We've got your 4 main minerals for hydration, so calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium. You might want to supplement them. You do get plenty of that in food, especially meats and vegetables. But I point you towards zinc and magnesium as a supplement, and I think that's always helped me. Yeah. So you have it before bed. You do feel great. I sleep better on it.
You have some proper deep sleeps on that as well.
That's good then.
Proper deep sleeps, so it's good. Right, so next question. Sarah B. For a relatively slim woman looking to start weightlifting, what muscle groups do you recommend and on what day?
Oh, man.
Full body 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. For a natural, smaller woman, yeah, do full body 3 times a week, like a starting strength or a 5x5 or even, something more higher volume.
Great point, yeah.
So just for anyone who doesn't know what 5x5 is, let's go into that just a little bit. Or 5x3, 5x5.
Yeah. Well, it's set up so you're training everything every 48 hours, which a natural person is enough time to recover.
A novice is enough.
As a novice, yeah.
So that's perfect for the questionee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, like literally that. So just if she's starting weight training, you're on a strength training program. So high frequency, full body workouts. So just one thing, and something along the starting strength line for a novice lifter. So very frequent, 3 times a week. You can, as long as you're not going with a bad coach that's going to just literally fry you and do stupid amounts of weight, so you can't recover from it. And you start light, which is a great point. Plan for the long term. That's what strength training is. Trying to improve over months and years rather than just trying to get like a quick fix into your fitness goals. One thing she mentioned was which body parts. But if you're on a strength training program, squats, deadlifts, bench presses, overhead press, and pulls, it trains your body as it's meant to be trained as a system. You don't isolate too often.
Exactly.
You might want to isolate once you're like an intermediate lifter or an advanced lifter to bring up certain lagging parts, like maybe.
Because some things recover quicker, like your triceps, the small muscle groups can recover within a day.
Yeah.
So you can train them
next day. We've said it quite a few
day.
times, like you can absolutely smash upper body, and you're going to recover much faster.
Upper body can handle
more
volume. It's a smaller system when you're doing an upper body movement. Let's take a squat, for instance. That's a massive systemic load on your entire body. A lot of muscle mass being used. It's a big drain on your nervous system. It's a lot to recover from, which is why they're so great. And that's what anyone starting training needs to focus on. I say that twice, sorry. That's what a novice needs to focus on.
Yeah.
You mentioned the good point about every 48 hours to 72 hours, you can recover and go again as a novice. So find something that's going to train you frequently, full body each time, and then as you get into your intermediate and your advanced levels of training, which takes years, you can start to split up your training and try more advanced programs.
It's quite an interesting subject because when you get on to women and training, you still have a lot of that. Don't lift heavy weights because I'm going to get muscular. I don't want to look ripped.
Yeah, I like to think this day and age,
but it's not. It's still exactly the same. Where women, not all women, I'm not saying this, but there is and there's a lot of men that do it to women, which is just point blank stupid.
Yeah,
that are like, oh, don't get too big. You look all right as the way you are. Don't get too muscular. It's like, don't tell them what to do.
Don't you get too muscular?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't
they've
think
been training.
Strong fingers.
You're doing a good job so far.
They've been training for like 10 years and don't look any better, and they're like, don't you get too big?
Yeah, exactly. But I think
has testosterone in his system.
Yeah,
can't overhead press a bar.
Beast. Yeah. How did you get so fucking massive?
In his system.
Yeah, that's it.
But again, whether we say in this day and age or not, it's still a thing. Like you aren't, unless your goal is to get ridiculously ripped and muscular, that isn't going to happen if you strength train. You are just going to make yourself a little bit more healthier.
You'll gain a lot of muscle though, which is great.
Yeah, but you're not going to, you're not going to go around looking like Arnie
bone
just
density.
because you've done some deadlifts and you've done some squats. Otherwise, we'd all be sat here looking like Arnie. And when
there's certain steps, pro bodybuilders and a lot of the untested sports, there's certain steps they've gone through to get that way.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just from picking up a dumbbell and lifting it a few times and then going, oh, yeah, now I'm ripped and I'm massively muscular. It's a good
point, and I sort of almost if you hear it, you sort of almost would laugh it off. When it still is really important to talk about it, where the health benefits, the gains you get in strength, power, even cardiovascular gains from strength training, the benefits just so far outweigh any sort of weird sociological preconceptions they have. Outweighs all of that nonsense. So just go and train, go and have fun with it, and progress each time you go in the gym.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing I love about strength training for me is it keeps me on track a lot more than it ever did doing like hypertrophy training, because I can see week on week improvements, and I'm looking at it going, okay, well, even if it's like 1.5 kilos, 2.5 kilos, it doesn't matter.
All adds up.
It all adds up, and if you get on that deadlift bar and you pull an extra 5 kilos. The higher you get off of that than if you were just going in there doing 15 reps for 15 sets because I'm bodybuilding.
Yeah.
by the time I get to the end of it, I'm just I'm done. I don't want to do anymore. Like, that's not saying don't do hypertrophy. It may work for you, and it may be something you're really interested in doing.
And make sure you progressively overload on it.
Yeah, but for me, it was like, I can see the numbers going up.
Yeah.
So it kept me so much more focused than it would have if I was just going in doing not the same routine, but doing a lot of the same lifts for long periods of time.
Yeah.
And I'd just get bored and, I'd give up on it.
The really
I have a few times, so...
The important thing there is, so say like your goal was a physique goal, and you would want to do strength training with some hypertrophy training.
Which I do now,
You'd
yeah.
want to do some you'd want to do some bodybuilding training there. But with that, if you saying if you just focus on bodybuilding, it's going to take a while before you see some really big differences. Yeah, it's going to be great for you when you hit your goals. All right, I look a certain way, or I look more athletic, fantastic. But what you are doing when you compare yourself to your previous shape and look is you're trying to like perform in the gym. Whereas what you've been doing for weeks and what strength training is training, not performing. So the same way that we don't max out every time, I know Scott would love to. You train every time and you get progressively better, which is what you've been enjoying seeing every time, rather than going in, okay, I've got to perform, I've got to hit this chest movement to achieve this certain goal, or I've got to hit 10 reps on this exercise, and if you don't get it, you're bad. It's like, no, you just go through a training process. You don't have to perform every time you go in the gym.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to that, what we were saying earlier on, is you've got a lot of this social media thing where you're seeing these 6, 8 week, 10 week transformations, and when you are sort of introduced to the gym, you do look at yourself in the mirror every week, or some people every day, and they're looking at there's no improvement.
Any reflective surface.
And when you get to 8, 10 weeks,
Foamy baths.
foamy baths with my foam beard. When you get to that sort of 8, 10 weeks mark, and you're looking in the mirror and you're not seeing anything, it's so demotivating. Because you look at it and you go, well, why am I bothering? Because what people don't see are these people who look like this have been training for many, many years, and they've probably just gone through a bulk, or they've had a bit of time off training, and then the minute they get back, the body goes back into the muscle memory, and it starts going back
and
to
they
where
may have
were.
had a coach that focused on improving their weights in the gym for months and months and years.
Exactly.
And they eventually get so big, they're on social media, they're in the public eye, and everyone's like, oh, you need to look like that. It's like, well, you need all this preparation, this time and patience.
And if you need a coach like that, Mackenzie Strength on Instagram, hit him up in the DMs.
Exactly.
Message me.
Yeah.
Email me.
And while we're still talking about female physiques, it was kind of reminding me of a post that was put up last week, which I'm not going to say who it was that put it up, but it was a big brand that put it up, where they were talking about natural bodies.
I'll let you go on this one, man. You had a lot to say. So
They were talking about natural bodies, and they put a picture up of I'm not going to say a large lady. I'm just going to say an average-looking woman.
It was look like a small.
Maybe
I remember this.
Maybe maybe a size 12 or a 14.
Yeah, not a large
massive.
lady at all.
And they were saying about how in social media we're pushed every day with seeing unachievable body goals, etc., etc., etc. Then went onto their website to find every single product that they were selling was on probably a size 6 or a size 8 model, not a single normal looking person on there.
Yeah.
All abs, all doing exactly what they were posting against in the in the feed. Now to me, that's the same as causing the problem, because all you're doing is just saying to people out there, we've got your back.
Yeah.
And they haven't.
It's like a company just posting a black tile on Black Lives Matter, and then they don't change their values.
Yeah,
completely different. Like what you need is companies like Ben and Jerry's.
They're contradicting
themselves. Just fighting. Like they're like, we're fighting this shit.
Yeah, I don't like the fact that they're contradicting themselves, and actually they're the people who are causing the issue.
Yeah,
because they're constantly pushing these super fit people, and then saying, "Yeah, but don't worry, we've got your back if you're a little bit bigger."
Yeah,
well,
supposedly fit.
Yeah,
they look slim. That's about all their. Yeah. That's all their qualifying features are.
Exactly, and to me, you're just as much as part of the problem if you're doing that. And you're basically saying, well, we've got your back. Apart from we can't sell products if we put you in it, so we're still going to put the super fit looking people in there.
It's the split of a company, isn't it? It's like you've got the product team that have their agenda that they're hitting, and then social media is like, what's trending this week? Oh, anti-body shaming? Great, let's just do that.
Normalising
and they
body
just
fat?
No connection between the two systems.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to do that, then to me, you need to start putting other people as your models.
Yeah.
And you need to start.
So you're talking about when you're scrolling through their items.
Yeah, you scroll through their entire website. There's not a single plus size person on there. I'm not saying who it is.
Not even like.
And it's not the only. And I'm 100%
size.
sure
a lot of that industry, a lot of fitness industry does it, so it doesn't really.
Yeah.
You're not going to say who it was.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not just one person doing it. But, to everyone out there, just be wary of the things you're reading, and not everyone's got your back as much as you think they've got.
Yeah.
It's still down to the sales.
Just because you see that and you get a little dopamine hit from their posts,
yeah,
it's not their values.
No.
They're just wanting a like and a share.
Yeah. You've essentially become the token fat person.
Yeah.
Which
she was not, because
no, she wasn't even big. She wasn't even big whatsoever. But that seemed like a bit of a low to end the podcast on, so we'll not do that.
That's a really good point.
It's a good point. But let's not end it on a.
Don't say you're trying to normalise people that are in having really important fitness goals but aren't quite as athletic or haven't hit their goals yet. Don't say you're normalising that and then just show ripped, huge athletes on your
these freaks of nature
on your media and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly that, and that is the point behind it. You just average it for everybody. If that's what you're going to do, then you need to back that and say, well, okay, we're going to start having some plus.
Was this person an affiliated art? Like,
I don't think so.
That's
maybe possibly.
Maybe that could be the next step.
Maybe possibly, but if they were, they're probably a very small minority of their affiliated.
They'll be the 2% because they're too
Again,
big to be 1%.
They're token average person.
Yeah.
And I get it. You are pushing a sporting brand, but then don't push out your "we've got your back, Jack" kind of thing when really
it's a fine line, because it's about. Well, I'm not going to comment on like fashion, but it's a brand. Their brand will be like the clothing stuff, so it's going to tie in with their fitness side of things. We're pushing these awesome bodies. Follow that lifestyle. If we're a lifestyle brand, follow that all the time. Be ripped. Go out and be sociable, and wear our stuff. But there's normal looking people as well that are trying to look that way.
Yeah, and that is the point of this podcast to a degree. Is that we want to try and normalise things like that. So we want there to be
honesty in it. Just honesty.
Yeah, we want you to be able to come here and be motivated, but also understand that you don't have to be ripped. You don't have to be, like super jacked or anything like that.
Yeah.
This is just a place where normal people can enjoy fitness and normal people can get.
Normal people can be fit.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't have to look like Arnie.
No.
And let's be honest, half of them aren't fit anyway. Not Arnie, I'm not saying that. But, half of the people that you're pushed in front of, you actually look at their diets and you think, okay, you've got really good metabolism, but you still eat like shit all the time. That doesn't make you healthy in any way, shape or form.
And competing is never, very, very rarely, competing is not healthy. When you dedicate yourself so much to one particular goal, and I'm sure bodybuilders would back me up, when they're in their peak physical condition of how they look, they're feeling dreadful. Not dreadful, because I know there's some that do it really well, but they're not in their peak condition. They're not as strong as they want to be. They're not as fit as they want to be.
Most of them are so dehydrated.
Like, they're the weakest.
The ones who do it wrong, they are.
They can barely even move.
So and even like Olympians, they're not feeling their best when they are literally peak condition, ready to run.
They've just peaked, and they've done this program that's got to a point where they've just busted out this volume. They've
them
dropped
every day,
just so they can do their competition, and their body's just thankful that it's not that high volume training session.
Yeah, so competing's not always healthy, and then
you always say athletes are the most unhealthiest people because they don't care about being healthy; they care about winning.
Yeah, always said that.
Being healthy doesn't put food on the table.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, let's look at the Russians. No, let's not do that.
They're not athletes though. They become
that's
not
a country of people.
Yeah. So let's finish on a slight high.
All right.
Did any of you two get round to watching the Otashi sport that I sent you? If you didn't, then it's definitely something to get onto YouTube and Google and have a look at.
You told me all about it, so I know exactly what it is.
Dear God, it is the Japanese back at it again with the craziest sport I've ever seen.
It sounds like bottle kicking, more violently expressed.
Bottle kicking, but humans.
It's like Capture the Flag
times what's that zombie film?
World War Z.
World War Z.
Right.
That's what it's like.
Honestly, so it's 75 people per team.
Right.
Then there's a pole in the centre, which is, I don't know, maybe a quarter the size of a telegraph pole.
Okay.
Which is held up
electrified.
by the people.
I've seen this in the clips. I didn't watch the clips, but I went to play the video. When I paused it, I was like, I should really be working.
Well, this is...
And I just looked down the screen and I was like, the hell is all this? There's just
This is literally-
stacks of little Japanese men.
held up.
Bodies.
Basically, they hold up the pole. On top of the pole is a flag and a person. Okay, so it's almost 2 layers. So you've got a circle of people who are then
Oh god, is this going to go where I think it's going to go?
have people stood on their shoulders,
Yeah, it's going where I'm...
and then a guy crouched on the top like Spider-Man.
Is it
And then
whoever
the other
captures
team
him?
literally has to just pile in over the top of these people and try and get that flag, and they just literally maul on top of these people.
Oh, it's exactly what I was
To the point where the guy on the flag is just kicking people in the head to get them off. So if you haven't had a chance to watch it, or I do recommend that you go and watch it, it is a crazy sport.
How do you say it?
Botashi.
It's like that match
Botashi.
where
Botashi.
Bagwell's mum was on a pole. WCW. Is it Linda Bagwell on a pole match?
Oh my god.
No.
I don't remember.
Oh god, that was messed
Is that
up.
for the next podcast?
Well, yeah, we'll leave that for the next podcast.
What was it called?
If there's a reason to
I think-
tune in next time, it's
her name
that.
was Linda or Julia, but it was like a Linda Bagwell on a pole match. And it was like her just standing on a pole, like just looking down.
Didn't
This
David Blaine do
elderly
that?
woman,
David Blaine
Yes.
was at a height for a while. What did he do?
but it wasn't for a wrestling match. Like no one was actually doing it for David Blaine. He was doing it for himself. This was just an elderly woman on a pole. And the winner, it was like a ladder match. I think you had to go get. It's very foggy. I think I have a bit of PTSD from it. It was just
not
yeah.
even a young, not even like.
No, it was Buff Bagwell's actual mum.
His actual mum.
His actual mummy on a pole.
And they just
I can't even remember who he's in the match with. Yeah, check it out. It's fantastic.
Oh my god.
Like fantastically awful. Like the movie The Room. It's like it's alright to watch.
Oh my god, seriously.
I always get lost with the wrestling talk.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I don't even know what this is.
Yeah.
It was just wrestling, yeah.
This was
Yeah,
wrestling, yeah.
this is
WCW, yeah.
All I got really was Bagwell on a pole, old lady on a pole for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just
Buff Bagwell's mum on a pole
And it
match.
tickled you roundly, didn't
it,
it?
It was kind of like, the whole Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio for the
R.I.P.
contract, yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P.
For the contract of who's Dominic's real dad.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah. Sorry, but Buff Bagwell's mum on a pole was far better.
Yeah, I think it's someone will correct me because
Didn't they have, like,
wrestling
do you
fans.
remember they had that really weird storyline where Linda McMahon was in a wheelchair, but she just didn't respond to anything?
Yeah, and then she stood up and kicked Vince in the nuts, and everyone cried and cheered.
Yeah.
It was when he was
What was
being
that
creepy and made Trish Stratus bark like a dog, and he was just being like a sexist pig.
Yeah.
He was
Thank
making
God
out.
the Me Too movement went
He
round there.
absolutely seems the type, though.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, he did a whole kiss my ass thing where he literally made people kiss his ass or they got fired.
He is a billionaire. You know how they've been going recently. Not great.
Yeah, especially when they go into prison.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they're friends with Trump.
And they're freed, and they're not
Yeah.
actually dead.
let's not get into conspiracy theories.
no,
That's the fucking
it's another
truth, mate.
podcast.
It is indeed. Well, I'm going to end it on that high of Buff Bagwell's mum on a pole.
Yeah.
Because why else wouldn't you?
Linda or Julia Bagwell on a pole match. Check it out, YouTube.
Yeah, I think I'm going to. That's what I'm going to do as soon as I get off this podcast. Okay, guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you again next week. Peace out.